Let's speak to Paul Britton. He's the director of Britain and Time. He joins me now. We're going to talk about all of those controversies that I mentioned earlier, and we're going to kick things off with, real concerns and, in fact, calls on people from the LGBTQ community to change their behaviour because of real worries that they could be in real danger. Paul, how do you think people should be responding to this? Should be responding to the tournament? Should they still go out there? Should we cancel the World Cup this time round?
Good afternoon, Claudia Liza.
Hi,
Thank
Paul.
you for having me on the show. So I don't think there's going to be any problems for members of the LGBTQI+ community going out to Qatar to enjoy the World Cup. I think the Qataris and the authorities there will be on their best behaviour, and I think it will be safe to attend those matches. Probably safer than it will be in the UK because they're banning.
Really?
Well, the consumption of alcohol leads to a lot of crime. We're
indeed, actually.
We're a defence firm in London, and we see a lot of that sort of stuff around football matches. So really, the big picture is that I think it's probably quite safe to go over there, and people shouldn't worry too much about that.
How do you feel though that the tournament was chosen to take place in Qatar, and the fact that they didn't even take into consideration that people are not allowed to come out to talk about their sexuality, to be their sexuality in that nation? Do you think that in itself was a wrong call?
Well, that's the salient point, isn't it? I mean, this decision was made in 2010, and in the UK we already had the Equalities Act then. Section 28 had been abolished in the 90s, and David Cameron apologised for that legislation. And you would have thought that an organisation like FIFA would have had some sort of criteria or foresight to say, okay, well, what are the local laws when it comes to things like homosexuals wanting to come and enjoy sport there? You would have thought they would have thought of that ahead, and it's quite sad that now, 12 years later, it's quite good that it's in the spotlight because it helps draw attention to these issues that in this country we're pretty much on top of, but in a lot of the world they're just lagging behind.
So let's take a look in the lead up to this tournament. We're talking about all the wrong things. This is ordinarily when the World Cup takes place, gosh, whether it was in South Africa, France, etc. We talk about the sport. This time round, not so much. And actually today, we've had the FIFA boss come out and give his reaction to some of the things that people have been calling out, pointing out when it comes to Qatar and its record on human rights. Let's have a watch and a listen, shall we?
Today, I have very strong feelings, I can tell you that. Today I feel Qatari. Today I feel Arab. Today I feel African. Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled. Today I feel a migrant worker.
So that was Gianni Infantino just trying to push back, if you like, on some of the things that have been, as I said, called out or Qatar has been criticised for. And I have to say, all those things that he said he is, if he went to Qatar outside of the World Cup season, his life could be at risk. I have to say, half of those things he said he is.
I mean, Claudia Liza, I just don't like some of the use. I mean, as a lawyer, words are our craft, and we like to use them in their true meaning. And you don't feel gay and you don't feel disabled. I mean, you are gay or you are disabled. And I just think that's... I don't know where he was going when he started with it. I mean, some of what he said had resonance, and I thought, no, that's a good point. But the whole I feel this, I don't know if he's out of touch with... what it is to be.
What did you think, you know, where do you think were some of his good points, or what did you think was actually positive about what Infantino was trying to do there?
Well, I do think the hypocrisy of Europe or the West.
Okay.
I mean, I know
no,
you
let
didn't.
me make this clear, sorry, Paul. I didn't actually point this out. Here we go. No, so I didn't actually say, didn't tell our viewers and listeners. So here we go. This was a long 1-hour press conference, and in it, again, just, you know, pushing back and saying, you know, how safe ultimately he feels in Qatar, and just embodies every minority, etc. He also said, actually, Europe, you know, more or less hypocrites when you look at Europe's records. So not present Europe, but Europe's records over hundreds of thousands of years, which is what Infantino is saying. So, you know, he was like, actually, I'll quote him directly, "I'm a European." He knows a lot of things. "I'm a European for what we have been doing for 3,000 years around the world. We should be apologising for the next 3,000 years before giving moral lessons." Does he have a point there, Paul?
Well, yeah, I mean, in 1966, when England won the World Cup, it was illegal for for same-sex couples to have sex with each other. It wasn't until later that only became possible in a private place. The Thatcher government in the 80s brought in legislation to prevent promoting homosexuality or homosexuality behaviour, and so yeah, I do think we are very lucky actually to be in Europe and to have gone through these processes, and the World Cup is a stage where we can now help the Middle East in particular move forward and not have to go through the difficulties that we did, and almost accelerate them into being, what, I don't know what the word is for it, maybe civilized.
And, you know, how do you feel about people from the West? You've got celebrities, Robbie Williams, David Beckham, going out there and being a part, getting paid to be a part of this World Cup. Are you okay with that?
Well, that again, drawing more attention to that stage and then using that attention to our advantage. You know, as a member of the LGBT community, or as it was when I first knew about it in the 90s and the noughties, it's important to have anyone draw attention to these issues so that we can all move forward with them together.
Okay, Paul Britton, so good talking to you, Director of Britain and Time. Really good talking to you. Thank you so much.